Welcome. I'm your host, Dustin. Flying solo today. Dean is unfortunately asleep. It's 1 a.m. over in UK where he is. But joining us today is the writer-director Kurt Wimmer and co-lead Kate Moyer of the new Children of the Corn film. So let's talk about killer kids and corn monsters together. Kate, Kurt, how you both doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. We're very excited, to finally get this movie out and have people actually see it and weigh in on it. So we're very excited. I mean, it's been a long time coming. And Kate, I don't want to speak for Kate, but I know, we with COVID and the theaters being closed and everything, we were, I'm not recently sure we'd ever be able to get this movie out. And so we're very happy to finally do that.
Hell yeah.
There was a tremendous amount of a lot of hard work and just hard work that was put into this film and all this effort, and we're all extremely happy that it's finally being shown on screen. So
Yeah, I was seeing that I think it was originally supposed to come out in 2020, right? I think that's what a lot of the sites were saying.
We started to release it then, but then we realized, we had to face the fact that nobody was going to the theaters. I mean, they just weren't. And it really wasn't until last year, and when Maverick came out and people said, okay, maybe theatrical will come back and everything doesn't have to go to streaming. So, and that's when we were able to sort of restart the conversation about getting it, back in the theaters.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. And I mean, you've been seeing a lot of horror movies coming into the theaters now. I mean, you got Terrifier 2, who paved a lot of the ways, and you have a lot of the lower budget, like Skinamarink and the Outwaters, and now Children of the Corn is huge. Like I'm a huge fan of the original Children of the Corn because it was just so eerie. And we watched this film, and yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it a lot actually, and I'm excited for people to go out and see this now, especially in theaters. It's coming out in 2 days, so that's very exciting. I'm sure for both of you.
Oh my God, this is scary. It's scary actually, but yeah, we're definitely excited, and it is actually kind of a theatrical movie. Weirdly, it really is meant for the big screen and with proper sound, with atmos, et cetera, et cetera. So if you do, I mean, and I'm not saying this in a self-serving way, but if you do have a chance to go see it in theater, it's a whole different experience.
Oh, I'm definitely going to, because watching on a laptop does just not do anything justice at all. And Kurt, I want to say, like, you made one of my favorite action films of forever is Equilibrium.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's such a badass film, man, and being able to talk to you and you did Ultraviolet and you did Salt and all these really big action films in the 90s and the 2000s, and now seeing you do Children of the Corn, it seems like it's so left field to you, completely different.
It's gosh, it's funny. I mean, I only just recently realized that I do, I mean, I do so many. I don't do romantic comedies, obviously, but I'm pretty fluidly travel through different tones. It's not really about genres, it's about tones, right?
Yeah.
So you look at Thomas Crown Affair. The tone of that could not be more different than Law Abiding Citizen or Equilibrium or Ultraviolet or Salt or anything. They're all very different in tone, even though some of them have some action in it. Thomas Crown doesn't have action in it, but yet it's an action movie. And so the similarities is kind of structural. Like if you look at those movies, the one thing you can identify that's similar about them is structure. And the same thing with Children of the Corn is structure, that they really start to, once they hook, they really start to accelerate and into sort of hopefully is a big finish. So what I'm saying is Children of the Corn isn't really, to me, that far afield, because if you look, I know you tell you a terrible secret that maybe I shouldn't say, but Children of the Corn is actually an action film.
Yeah. It feels like that a lot, actually. It really does.
Well, that's it. That's my kind of signature structure. It's just action, and it speeds up, and it just gets bigger and bigger and moves faster and faster, and hopefully it becomes more and more exciting. So I always looked at it. I always approached it as an action film.
Yeah, I can agree on that. Sure. Now that you're saying that, yeah, I can look at it more like that. But going back to, because Children of the Corn, it is, based off a Stephen King book, so it was based in horror. So Kate, I wanted to ask you, are you a fan of horror films?
I'm about to break a lot of hearts here, but not necessarily.
Hey, that's completely fine. That's completely fine.
I like sleeping through the night soundly without any issue. I prefer keeping to the more lighter toned movies.
Yeah, and I mean, what you play in this film is like you are very you're a presence. You really are. You control everything in this, and it's really cool having you on too, because you're actually like our youngest I think interviewee that we've ever had on the show. So you're breaking the mold over here on our podcast. So that's awesome. So being able to have you on, and also Kurt, this is awesome. So I really thank everybody for lining this up and letting us see this film before everybody else, and actually getting a review out and everything like that, and going to see this on Friday wherever I can see it. So I'm very, very excited for everybody else to enjoy this film.
Well, for Kate and I, but thank you. You're right. She does that's why we cast her in some of these, because she has this innate ability to control a frame. She can just do it. And we watched her audition, me and the producer Lucas Foster, and we saw every young lady of that age in America, and she's from Canada, ironically.
Yeah.
And we had to reach that far away. And we saw her audition. We were like, I believe her. I believe, and so we don't have to convince the audience that this girl can control, that other kids are going to follow her. She is a natural born leader. I believe it. And that was so essential, to try and find somebody who wasn't faking it or just raising their voice in order to, sort of convey some sort of control. She just did it. And it was very rare. And I'm, eternally grateful that we were able to find her.
Hell yeah. So it's great that you both, found each other and made this film work, because I think I'm trying to think of anybody in the space right now that, if Kate, if you weren't there, that filled that spot. I don't know, because there's a lot of people, but they're all older. And I think having, since you're so young, and me, whenever I watch a horror movie and there's any kind of, child involved, I hate it. It scares the hell out of me. I have a 5-year-old son, so I mean, I connect on that. I'm like, that's really, really creepy. And then seeing the things that you do in this film, and you being a leader, I wanted to ask you, what was it like being a leader of all of these kids, and controlling this town, and watching it, essentially go through hell?
Well, every time, because Kurt and I, we really developed Eden together. Kurt allowed me to have so much freedom when it came to Eden. So we kind of wrote her together, every single day. It was we sit down and we talk about what she was going to do and how she would react. And I feel like, when I was Eden, it was partly me, because I was bringing my own, emotions and my feelings to her, but it was also almost like an out of body experience, or almost like a confidence boosting experience, because I was kind of nervous to be, in charge of all these people and try and make it convincing. But as soon as, you kind of get used to it over a while, it feels better. It feels more natural. And I started to have fun with it.
If I can also interject, it was an interesting experience, because I've not experienced in any of the other movies I've directed, but I was rewriting every night based on what I saw Kate do during the day, because we shot during COVID. We were the first movie to ever shoot during COVID. And I had no chance to get to know her other than over Zooms, where we do improv every day.
Okay.
But I spent a lot of time just kind of studying her, because I felt I knew I couldn't bend her to the film. I couldn't say, this kid says I wrote it, so you say it, because it would come out stilted. It wouldn't be her. I felt I really had to find a way to make this character her. So I bent the script to her every day to make it more in her voice. I tried to bring the film to her, and in that sense, it was really extremely collaborative and rewarding experience.
Yeah, and it shows on screen too, with your presence and how you're able to have all these kids follow you. And them do whatever you say without question. It's like, that's really scary. Do you think you could do that in real life?
Like I said earlier, Eden and I are similar because I did.
That's scary.
Right? I promise I don't murder people. I promise I don't murder people. But
Let's hope not.
yeah.
Yet.
But I feel, some of I brought a lot of myself into Eden. I probably wouldn't be able to do that because she's definitely more confident than me in that sort of area. But also I feel like, to add on what we were saying earlier, COVID helped too, and that sounds like the weirdest thing, but everyone in the cast bubbled together for 2.5 months. We were basically dorm mates for a long time. And I spent a lot of time with the kids, and we were all really, really comfortable around each other. It was like, we saw each other all day, every day. Like, even when we went back to our hotel rooms, we were still together. So I feel like that really helped like form a bond that you would probably see in this town where these kids are always together and they're trying to band together and fight this adult threat.
Yeah.
Interesting aside to that is, we had a whole group of children, obviously, in the movie, and most of them were from Australia, and some of them were non-actors, and some of them were actors, but they were all, none of them were pushovers. People like Alila and Rafferty, certainly not. But yet, over the course of production, the kids started just naturally following Kate around, such that in the middle of a scene, when it was blocked that she should go right, and the kids are supposed to follow her, if she went left, like the school of fish, without even thinking about it, they would just follow her. So it really, it's art, reality imitating art, or art imitating reality, whichever way it goes.
Wow, that's really funny. Kurt, is this a film that you wanted to do? Like, how did making this Children of the Corn film kind of come about?
Well, I didn't grow up saying, God, what I want to do? I want to make Children of the Corn. But it's very hard to get movies made in this world today. And I've more than most people, I've written original films, and I'm still doing it, like Beekeeper, which is coming out later this year. It's really hard to do because all they want to do, they being Hollywood, is make movies that are either sequels or remakes or reboots, or they've got based on a comic book, or some sort of piece of IP. I mean, they don't make any films that are original anymore, which is really, really, really bad for the industry, I think. But that's a whole other subject. So, Children of the Corn is obviously an opportunity. And because it's Stephen King, obviously, and it's a very well-known title, even though it's a bit done to death, it was a bit done to death. But, I'm willing to always take that challenge. I mean, if it means making a movie and see what I can do and see if I can make a good one. And so what can I do that make it interesting? Again, not rehash what's been done before, but take the fundamental original material and see if I can look at it through the lens, the contemporary lens. And I thought, and right away, I thought, wow, this really suits the sort of contemporary story very well, because, it's about kids rising up and taking control of their destiny from the adults who completely screwed up their world. And I look around and I see, wow, that's like a lot of kids are saying that today. Hey, you guys are screwing up the future. You're 80 years old and you're making policy decisions about the future that may affect my future. You're not going to be alive. And I don't get a vote. I don't get a say. And I'm like, that, and you're driving this earth straight into the ground. And I'm like, this is, and that's the genius of King's, a lot of King's work, is that these are stories that can be told and retold again for a new generation, speaking to them in their own voice. And so that's why I thought, a lot of people say, oh, doesn't Hollywood have any new ideas? But hopefully this is a new way to look at a fundamental, it's like Romeo and Juliet. They're going to be telling that story forever. Like, get over it. Accept it. It's not going away. And I think this concept of, children taking control of their destinies, and I also want to stress, there's a lot of slasher films out there. If you want to watch a slasher film, you want to watch, a Scream or Jason, or Freddie, or you name it, or Michael, you've got plenty of choices there. If you want to watch a movie about kids killing adults, you only got one place to go. It's one-stop shopping. It's called Children of the Corn. There is nothing.
Yeah.
So it's its own subgenre, which I like. And I think, this weekend we own that subgenre. Someone else will come and, do their own version in 10 years. And hopefully that will also speak to the new state of the world at that time. But I think this movie, this idea that King had is that kind of idea that can be recapitulated again and again.
Yeah, I agree in that. I read a lot of Stephen King, and he always likes to, focus on the children because it's the most vulnerable state that you can be, and watch them grow. And this is one of those things, is like he focuses on the children, and they have gone bad, essentially. And that you see that a lot in this film, and all the crazy things that everybody does. Kate, I wanted to ask you, with all the crazy things that have happened in this film, with people being killed and people, I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot of things that happen. Was there a favorite scene or memory that was on set or in this film that you're very fond of and you still kind of hold on to, without, I guess, spoiling too much stuff, unless you guys don't care about spoilers?
I have so many favorite scenes and so many favorite moments. My favorite scene would be, I have a lot. I feel one of my most favorite ones is probably near the end, because it's probably one of the ones that I'm most proud of. Was, I wasn't even planning to do this day. I don't know why it happened. I guess I was just very in it. But it's near, I guess, the end of the film, and Eden, she constantly puts up this like facade of like she's super strong and nothing, phases her, and she's just, determined to get to this goal, but she lets a little bit of her humanity show, and I ended up crying that day. It wasn't on purpose. It just felt right for the scene, and I feel like it made it better, I guess.
Yeah, I know what scene you're talking about. Yeah.
I could agree. That was I didn't know she was going to do it either, and I started crying in the monitor. To me, this was like a Beauty and the Beast moment, right? This is a girl saying goodbye to her dream, her monster, fundamentally, and saying that she failed them. And I thought, God, that's beautiful. And I honestly started crying. I not that anybody asks, but I have a sort of directing style where I don't get chummy with the actors. I'm kind of robotic, and I don't like hang out with them. I'm not backslapping them, or like, small. I don't make small talk. Am I right about that, Kate? It's sort of all business, and I do that to keep sort of a professional distance, and so that that hopefully it can guide them or each other to getting the best performance, because that's why we're there. We're not, and but nonetheless, I was never able to tell Kate how happy I was with her, because I didn't want to upset the equilibrium of her performance. And it wasn't until there's very strict rules about how long kids can stay on set. And the day we wrapped, I mean, they were literally running her out to the car, like running. And I just managed to catch up with her just in her tent. And I literally burst into tears. I burst into tears. And I said, listen, you're one of the greatest actors I've ever worked with. And I'm sorry I never got to tell you while we were making the film, but now that it's over, and that was it, and then they snatched her away into the car.
Wow.
I remember that day I was okay, because you're so focused on what you're working on, you're not like, oh, what's going to happen after the film wraps. I wasn't, no one expects this, but I was fine the entire day. I was fine when we were on set and we wrapped, and I said, there's a picture wrap, we're all good. And then as soon as I started walking towards the car and I saw everyone, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys, I may never see you again. I don't know. I started crying.
Your mom started crying. We're all crying.
I was crying. There's photo evidence of this.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love hearing stories like that on set of, after a long day of shooting and you nail everything, and then you finally get to breathe a little bit and then realize everything that you've done. I've been hearing that story a lot with, especially during COVID, with everybody being locked in with each other, because we've had a lot of, other guests on here with films that were shot during COVID, and being, essentially housed together, and the bonds that you create. It really is like a whole family dynamic. I think even more so than I think it's ever been in, making movies and cinema, because of how tight knit everybody is and how the world is now. So that's an awesome story. And I'm happy that you both got to share something like that during this making.
That's 100% true. And it had a number of benefits for us. By the way, I should say that We started shooting in April 2020. We were the
Oh,
only.
wow. So it was right. Wow.
We were the only film shooting in the world for our entire shoot, from April to the end of May. We were the only film shooting on Earth. And so we actually had to invent some of these, most of these protocols. And we also were the beneficiaries. We know it very well, that bonding experience, but it worked particularly well because we were making a movie with kids, a lot of kids, and a lot of them were non-actors. And I was very concerned about this going into the filmmaking process because, there's not that many comps out there. The Lord of the Flies is one, but if you watch it, even Lord of the Flies, the kids, a lot of them are very self-conscious. They're clearly cutting around. A lot of kids who are standing around picking their nose and staring off into the sky. This is a real problem. You've got it's like you're wrangling, blind squirrels or something like that. And so I was like, I don't know how, and are we going to be able to do this? But because of the bubble that we had to create for COVID, it brought these kids, as Kate pointed out a minute ago, into this place where they spent every day together all day. They didn't go home at the end of the day to see their brothers and sisters or go for dinner or anything like that. They went home with each other, and they became so close that they lost their they became tame, actually.
Oh no, not for this movie.
No, they became domesticated though together. They were no longer wild and raw, and they all became, some of them came in like Kate, who was already a great actor, but some of them were non-actors. But they all ended up. I mean, I think if you watch the movie, I think you can't look at anybody and say that kid's like, Skylark and he's wandering off. They all are so focused, and they learned. This is an art form, acting for the camera, and eye lines, and pretending that there's a monster there when there is nothing but a pineapple on a stick. And these kids were all great, and a lot of it had to do with the bubble we were in COVID, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So other than COVID, were there any other challenges with writing or directing this, or even acting for you, Kate? I know you guys are saying you're doing a lot of stuff over Zoom and whatnot. I know you were rewriting some stuff, but was there anything else that was kind of in the way?
Well, I'll just say, I mean, there's so many variations of the COVID thing that were in the way, but I mean, it wasn't just because we were the first. I just want to go back to that. Because it was the first. It wasn't just, we have to isolate. We're in a bubble. We were on pre-production and leading up, and the world, as we were in pre-production, started breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
Production offices in Australia are like, what's this thing? Hey, you walk in, do you hear about this thing? There's some disease that's coming out of China. You hear about that? And then like, oh man, it's really spreading over there. And then I remember sitting in with my producer, Lucas Foster, in the office when the news of the first person up in Washington got sick in America. We're like, God, I'll probably be like 6 people that get it. And then boom, it just exploded. And so we were like, it wasn't just the COVID protocols. Are we making this movie? Going right up to the day, to the point where when Kate, who came from Canada, she connected in Los Angeles to fly to Australia to be in this film.
That's a long day.
Australia, it's longer when Australia shuts down while you're in midair. They shut down. So she lands after 24 hours of traveling, and she's ready to go and get some sleep. And they say, "Welcome to Australia, mate. You're going to quarantine." Straight away, she went to quarantine. And so, I mean, that's her greeting. And by the way, we love Australians, but that was her welcome to Australia. And then because of the schedule that we had, we didn't have any money. I mean, this movie's it's a low budget movie. We had to start shooting on a certain day. And it was exactly the day they got out of quarantine. So their quarantine was such that they couldn't see anybody. I mean, nobody. So they couldn't do costume fittings. Somebody had to leave the bag with the costumes on the door, and then they'd go away and they'd open the door, get the costumes, and do their own fittings. This is how crazy it was. Wow. And the second they got out, the day they got out, we went straight to set and started shooting. So, I mean, we had, we understand everybody's, a lot of people were shot during COVID, but nobody shot like this. And then not only that, but every day we were like, are we going to come back and shoot tomorrow? So,
Yeah.
there's a lot of pressure in making a film, and that's kind of the fun of it. I mean, if you're the masochist, but there was a lot of added pressure. We didn't know if we were gonna go through and shoot all this movie. And it's a tough place to be. It's a tough place to be on top of everything else.
Wow. Okay, I feel so bad for you. That's wow.
No, it wasn't that bad. It's okay.
Wow, that sounds awful though, for flying that long and then being like, yeah, so now we're at the height of everything, and now you got to go over here for like a week. Wow.
2 weeks. 2 weeks. 14
2
days.
weeks. That's right. It was 2 weeks. Wow.
Could not leave her hotel room.
Damn. Well, the movie came out great.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely
Thank
did.
you very much. Thank you.
So as we know, there's so many other Children of the Corn films. Do you feel any, Kate or Kurt, did you feel any pressure of having to either live up to like the first one that came out or anything like that? Or was it kind of just like, we're gonna do our own thing and we're gonna stick to that and not worry about all the other stuff that has came?
Well, I can say, listen, we never want to disappoint the fans. And the fans are weird because they go in with certain expectations. And, I've seen people say, well, where's Malachi? And, it's like, well, okay, there have been 10 films with Malachi. Let's try something different. But also Malachi, you have to, I believe, it was they're religious fanatics. That's why his name is Malachi. It's a biblical name. Isaac, is a biblical name. That was the whole point of those things. These kids are not driven by religion. They're driven by the fact that the adults are screwing up the world and they're killing the corn, which represents their earth. It's their playground. And so to me, it wasn't appropriate to. So it's really King's original work that I want to respect. And our story is different, but it's the same. It's Children of the Corn. The entire movie takes place in the corn, and it's full of children. So there's that.
Also, very literal.
It's fun. It's true.
Yeah.
And the fundamental idea also is it's about children rising up and when they feel like the adults are not doing their job and taking matters in their hands, and that is still absolutely at the core of the film. So I feel like so there's pressure to keep people satisfied and in that respect, and also pressure to entertain people and give them their money's worth, so that they say that was an hour and 30 minutes well spent.
Yeah, exactly. How about you, Kate? Did you feel any pressure of being like the new lead, like essentially the face of this film? As you know, we had Malachi and Isaac and all the other ones. Did you feel any kind of pressure for that, or you kind of like, I'm gonna give it my best and hopefully everybody likes it?
Well, I hadn't, when I was auditioning, I hadn't really heard of Children of the Corn that much before, because my horror pop culture is not up to date.
You got to get a little bit in there.
Okay.
You just made the movie, man.
I definitely did not. I didn't watch the movie. I will now, but I didn't, and I feel like I was worried that people were just going to see it as like, oh, they're redoing the story and they're just like gender bending, and which isn't what it is. It's a different, fresh, different twist that's more relatable to issues that are going on today, instead of what Kurt was saying.
Oh,
like,
for sure.
religious reasons going on. So I feel like I didn't feel as much pressure because I didn't quite understand what was going on, but also I knew it was a different story. So there wasn't like anything that I had to like recreate in order to do it.
I will say that is actually really smart though. Like for being somebody who doesn't really have like a lot of knowledge and like not knowing anything about that, I feel like because you're going into it so fresh that everything just feels new to you. So that definitely that's a good call. That's a very good.
Right. We weren't making the same movie either. I mean, it is its own movie,
for sure.
although the fundamental things are the same. But and in terms of I didn't make the lead characters females in order to be politically correct or anything like that. I did it for very specific reasons. One is she was 11. Okay, she's an 11-year-old running the show. 11-year-old girls and 11-year-old boys were a different story. 11-year-old boys are more like 5-year-old girls. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it's true. And, they're not, females get their shit together a lot quicker than boys. So, I'm not sure that an 11-year-old boy would be convincing doing what she does, speaking with the authority that she does. That's one of the reasons that I did that. And then with Elena's character, there are no great genre films or horror. I don't know if there's a horror or not, but that's another debate. But there are no great horror films with a final guy. There's only final girls. So it has to be a girl, because women are the primary drivers and the motivators, the motivating force behind box office for all horror films. If women go, then the guys say sure. If women don't want to go, the movie's not going to work. And so for that reason, horror movies are always centered around women. And I also believe, not that you ask, but I'll just expound on it a little further, that, if you look at Boleyn, Elena Camporos's character, she's got one foot in the adult world and one foot in the children's world. She's not really accepted by either one.
Yeah.
But that's why I believe, this is my own personal theory, that that horror films always center around 17-year-old girls, almost always, because what they do is they speak to that kind of existential state of slight terror that women or girls of that age are living in, because they know they're about to go out into the world and start their own worlds and their own families, which is scary to them.
Yeah.
And leave the comfort of their family, but nonetheless, it's what they want to do. And horror films are a way for them to sort of experience that fear without actually having to quite take that step yet. That's what I believe, and that's why I created her character like that, is having her foot in both worlds, and she's about to leave, and then all of this really awful stuff happens. So it had nothing to do with sort of gender equality, gender swapping, or all that. I hate that. There was very sort of solid, I believe, thematic reasons behind why I did what I did.
Yeah, no, I agree on everything that you said too. And both of the characters in here, they're very, very strong, and I want everybody to go see this film when it comes out, because it's definitely it's a shower. There's a lot of stuff that happens in this film. It's like you said, it's very fast. It's extremely fast, and I believe this is also going to be going to Shudder too, I believe, later in the month. So I'm sure both of you are super excited to be on one of the biggest horror streaming services out there, in theaters and on the streaming service. That's awesome, and congrats to both of you for that. Seriously, that's amazing. I'm on Shudder almost every single day, so
Really?
it's awesome. Yeah. So I'm excited for both of you. I guess I can leave it off on this one. Kate, we'll start with you. Do you have anything else in the works right now? Any other films that you're doing, or are you kind of just taking it easy for right now?
Okay, so last summer I filmed a movie based on the book called Out of My Mind. It's a really great book. It's about a girl who has cerebral palsy. Awesome story. I read it when I was in school in grade 5. I loved it, and I'm very happy to be able to be a part of it. It's going to be on Disney Plus sometime this year.
I'll be looking out for that.
And also, I am on a couple episodes of season 2 of the TV series Reacher, which I also think is going to come out at some point this year. So,
oh, that's awesome. Kurt, I know you mentioned some other stuff, but if you just want to let our listeners know again, so that way they can keep an eye out. So what else you got going on in the works?
Sure. So we finished a film around Thanksgiving called The Beekeeper with David Ayer. Has directed it, and he's putting it together now. It's starring Jason Statham. It's coming out sometime later this year. I've got Expendables 4 coming out later this year.
Oh wow!
And,
Okay.
So it's exciting. I've got 3 films in the theaters this year. That's
that's big.
I'm pretty pleased about that.
Yeah, that's really, really big for a time where theaters were essentially breaking down, and now they're seem to be thriving again, which is amazing. I personally love going to a cinema. I feel at home being there. It's great.
100%. It's the only thing you can do, and I love it because I can do it with my family, my kids. Like I have a daughter who's Kate's age. And we can all go. We go to the movies and we go to dinner afterwards. And we talk a bunch of shit about it, and that's our big entertainment. But you can, and it's the only thing that's relatively, economically sensible that you can do with the entire family at night on a Friday night. I mean, what else are you going to do? You can go bowling, but
Yeah.
after that's what you can do. And movies, not that you asked, but I'm going to go. One thing that bugs me is the way that these theater chains now have started doing this crazy stadium seating, where
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
they're separated by walls because the chairs recline or whatever. But that means there's a wall between each row, and that completely takes away from the communal experience, which is absolutely necessary for two things: horror and comedy. You need to feel the power.
You need that whole vibe. You need everybody's energy. That's why I love going to a theater.
Right. I mean, it's viral, right? If you're in a great comedy and you were in the old school, it's really big theaters where they were, it's just row after row after row. If one person starts laughing, then it literally like a wave, it infects each other. That's that's going away fast, and it really, really disappoints me.
Yeah. Well, for all the theaters that are, still kind of keeping to everybody together, there's a few over here that they haven't really separated too much stuff, but there's been a few that are doing like separate layers, which is really, really weird. Some like mom and pop ones over here are separating it, but no, I agree. Like you need the communal experience. You need everybody there. You need to go there with a couple of friends, or even like sometimes I go to the theater by myself and just like feeding off of everybody else's energy is really, really fun. And I'm excited to see how everybody reacts to Children of the Corn this week. I'm probably going to go for a couple of days because I usually like to test the waters of certain theaters around here and see how the crowds are. So I'm very intrigued.
Thank you. Where are you though? We don't know.
I am in Massachusetts.
Hello, Massachusetts. Hey, I don't know if they have. I mean, I'm going to give it like a plug that nobody asked for, but I'm going to just give it anyway. If Massachusetts has AMC Stubs A-list, that's the best deal there is. Pay about $20. You can go see any movie you want, whenever you want. Like it's like printing money. I love it.
Hell yeah. I'll be definitely looking out for that one.
Check it out. It's so good.
Hell yeah. But Kate, Kurt, thank you both for coming on. I know we had a short time, but you both are welcome on here at any time that you want. If you have something you want to promote or talk about or anything like that, it was a blast. And Kurt, like I said, like you made one of my favorite action movies of all time. So it's really crazy to have you on here and talk about Children of the Corn. And Kate, for you being our youngest interviewee on here is definitely. It's big. It's really, really big. So it's awesome.
Not, and the reason she's on is because she's such a good actor.
Yeah, for sure. You get all the work. Everybody needs to go hire you right now. Seriously, you have. If you can do horror, action, and then do all these other things that you're doing, you have a wide range that you can do, and that's very, very valuable. Very valuable.
She's incredible. She's a work of art.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. As a horror fan, by the way, check out my movie Spell, which I did in 2019.
Yes. I think I have watched that, but I've watched so many films. I need to go back and rewatch everything.
I openly transparent that I just stole Misery.
All right. I will definitely go back and check that one out. But thank you guys so much for being on here, and everybody go check out Children of the Corn March 3rd. This will probably be coming out, I think, on that day. I think I'm going to be dropping this on release day for you guys, and then a review will be coming out next week. So
you're Dustin, the Dustin part of it, right?
Yes, I'm Dustin. Yes, Dean is unfortunately not asleep. But next time, if you guys come on for anything, he'll be there for sure.
Thanks so much, Dustin. We really enjoyed it.
Well, thank you, and keep making movies. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Kurt, and keep doing what you're doing. Thank you guys so much.
Okay.